everyone, welcome to Cotton Room Floor, the show that peels the curtain back so that you can have a front row seat on the behind-the-scenes stories of your favorite movies, documentaries, and creative projects. Today is kind of special. No, it's actually really special because we'll be hanging out with someone who has made a big name for himself on the digital space. And we're talking about someone who has 3.65 million subscribers on YouTube. Oh yes, he's done this over and again for over 10 years, and he has 3 channels that he is managing. So if you'd like to know about the behind-the-scenes story and of course learn how to monetize your digital content, you should sit in and listen. Good to have you, Michael McCrudden, on the show.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful intro. I'm usually talking about other people, so it's kind of strange that people talking about me, but I'm happy to be here.
Now, I know that it doesn't feel hot, and I promise I won't even make it feel hotter, so just stay warm and nice.
Okay, thank you. I'm in a safe space.
Oh, great. Of
Yes.
course you are. So now I know you live in Hamilton. I don't know for how long, but I hear that people who live in Hamilton love Hamilton. Is that the same for you?
I love Hamilton. I went to McMaster after high school, so I kind of knew that, you know, it's rough and tough, but if I had faith that one day it'll be the perfect little city. And at COVID time, it was time to buy a house, and me and my wife, so we chose Hamilton because we got a lot more with our money than Burlington or Oakville. And I just love the town, the character, the layout, the waterfalls. It's just a special place.
And it does have its own unique blend of entertainment, like you have
Yes.
galleries, murals, and what have you.
The music scene's incredible. The comedy scene's incredible. There's so many artists there, and we're just starting to interview them here on this show. Like there's YouTubers. It's a really cool ecosystem of artists. Yeah.
Okay, so it's hard not to know before they were famous, one of your channels, and of course you have 3.65 million subscribers. That's huge because we know that it's not very easy to crack the code on YouTube, but you cracked it at least 3 or more times because for you to actually have the gold card, is it called the gold card or gold?
I think they call it the YouTube plaque.
The plaque, exactly,
Yeah,
the golden plaque, right? You must have done it at least 3 or more times. And it's so interesting to see what you're doing. You're bringing us, to understand and know the life of famous people before they became famous. And that's what I think I connect personally with your show. So tell us, in this time where there's so many ideas to explore, why did you choose before they were famous?
Good question. So growing up, I was always obsessed with entertainment culture, and I was an actor and a model at one point. So I would spend a lot of time looking at Brad Pitt or Jim Carrey or John Belushi. And I was just like, how did they do it? And then my mom would read tabloids, and there would always be a segment like, look at their high school photo. And I was like, they were relatable. They were just regular guys or girls at one point with dreams and aspirations. So I made a ton of different shows. I did 3 years of YouTube before they were famous. But eventually I was like, I think I know more than the average guy. I'm super passionate about Hollywood entertainment. So I put a photo of Jim Carrey now and him as a young boy. And I told everything I could about what I found about him working at Yuck Yucks and his big break and not having any money and writing himself a check. And whatever it was that recipe with me hosting that caught fire. And as soon as I started before they were famous, I think it was like a year to hit 1 million. The show just exploded.
You found your parts for sure. And now talking about before they were famous, you also broke into another channel, Famous News, and then you also have Famous Entertainment.
That's right.
So are those offsprings of before they were famous?
Yeah.
Okay.
If one thing works, you're kind of like, how can I make a sister version or a shorter version? My wife actually runs the Famous Entertainment channel. So she does kind of what I do, but for a female demographic. She's a lot prettier and articulate and softer than me. So people would maybe not be interested in me telling these stories. There's a different appetite that will watch her. So we were able to and then I did a Spanish version of Before They Were Famous, and that blew up with millions of subscribers. And then the news is basically what I'm doing is a biography, but I'm like, there's a news story every day. There could be an election or someone wins the Masters in golf. So I can't really tell their bio, but I could do a news story. So we started Famous News, and that's not that big on YouTube, but it's big on TikTok, it's big on Instagram, it's big on Facebook. So the social media game is always evolving, and you just got to keep adapting, right?
Yeah. I mean, let's go back to your story when you were about 10 years old, if I'm correct. You did, you were Mr. Mississauga. How
Oh
did that
yeah,
happen? Tell us
I
about
know.
that.
Yeah, I think my parents were aware that this guy really likes the camera, the limelight. So I was a very handsome young man,
Handsome.
full of charisma, and my sister was a famous Irish dancer. So I wasn't really into the dancing. They put me into modeling, and I was lucky enough to win the biggest award in town, which was Mr. Mississauga.
Awesome. So did that sort of in any way shape your storytelling and content creation passion?
Absolutely, yeah. Because from there you would go to auditions, and I would audition for I think I was auditioning for Drake. I mean for Degrassi around the same time as Drake, right? So you're kind of rubbing shoulders with making it, not making it. You get a commercial. You're the most famous guy on the playground, and then I pursued the arts in university and in college. So I was really gung ho to make this work. And and I had all sorts of opportunity, like acting jobs and hosted some shows. But it was YouTube that really allowed me to take everything I'd learned and put it into a business and have a daily regiment and income and live out my dreams of being being a professional entertainer.
And that's a space that many people want to get into. So you're going to tell us all about that. I'm going to take a sneak peek into your life, into your journey, and then you give us this juicy information we must know about. But first, let's talk about managing 3 channels. It's a lot of work, I believe. How are you managing your strategies, your daily productions? I know, I hear you produce every single day.
Yeah, I've recently took a bit of a break because 10 years was kind of a... you just burnout is what they call in the creator game. I think 10 years for me, I kind of was like, okay, I did everything I wanted to do here. Let's take some time to look back. But yeah, when I first got revenue coming in, and I was my college peers, the kids that I went to school with were the first people I hired, and I would know someone's better. Maybe I was the best writer or the best host, but someone's a better video editor, or someone's better at SEO. Or graphic animation. You go to school with each other, who's who. So my first hire was an editor, and I believe the second was a writer. And then a Spanish channel was because a fellow student, her first language was Latin American or whatever. So she got her own channel, and people that thought the same way as me and had the same passion. They wanted to make this their 9 to 5 or 9 to 9 as it can be. They just jumped on board. And some of them went on to launch their own channels and become more successful than me. Some people decided it wasn't for them. But it's always been like, I make sure that I keep my phone on, and those who have the dedication and the passion, that they will do nothing but make a life of entertainment work. I'm always willing to help. I'll interview you. I will mentor you. And me working at Conestoga allows me to direct them here, because sometimes... it's good to keep a professional boundary, especially now that I'm getting a little older in my journey,
Yeah, I mean, you already preempted me. I was going to ask you, how are you managing your professional personality as a YouTuber and an educator here at the college? I know that sometimes it can be a little conflicting, but tell me about it.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad. Obviously, when Conestoga hired me, I'm sure they did their due diligence, and I had been in the broadcast world prior to YouTube, so I knew although I might eat a hot pepper or I might, run down the street in my underwear 10 years ago, I was never ever doing anything, that was just, dangerous or, off-putting. I might shock people, but it's all in good humor and good fun. So that's kind of just the moral compass you need to live by while posting content. And it's, in a sense, I'm always on display and I'm always out there, and I'm kind of a funny, goofy comedian kind of guy. But of course, I'm never, I never cross the line to offend. I don't carry any of those bad qualities inherently. So everyone knows I'm kind of just a funny, goofy guy. But my professional career here as a job is very serious. These kids, they need to show up and show that passion, and they can't, if they want to phone it in, I'm like, it's not going to work. You have to be all in to pull something like this off. So I keep that part of my life professional, and then I have a bit more fun with the content. But yeah, that's I've lived
Balancing things out.
yeah,
right?
that's you every day you live and learn.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about challenges because I know that the digital landscape is always evolving. The algorithms are changing. Sometimes to beat them is tough.
Yeah.
But how have you been able to manage to constantly grow your channels?
Yeah, like it every day does change, but to me, and like it can be off-putting, right? Like that show was killing it pre-pandemic, and the pandemic changed a lot. And I never, but then I figured out how to make other shows.
Okay.
So you just have to like, obviously, nothing's always going to go perfectly your way, but because it's changing, it's like new opportunities are opening every day. Like you can make money on TikTok now. You can post to LinkedIn. Like when I started, YouTube was pretty much it to make a few bucks. And now like YouTube can be a multi-million-dollar operation, and you have Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, so on and so forth, right? So there's way more opportunity, and yeah, it's tough to keep up with, but that's why you have to come here and learn from me on the daily at Conestoga, because I'm giving them the daily updates as they happen each week. I'm like, you guys won't believe the new algorithm with Snapchat. You can make a fortune, and I share this with my students.
Yeah, that's amazing because, I mean, we need to have those trends and we need to follow the trends as well. So let's talk about genuinity and authenticity because, I could see what's working for you and I might want to copy you because, after all, you're making money out of it. And sometimes people run out of ideas because they try. People get tired or bored just watching one type of content over and again. So it puts you as a creator on the edge trying to reinvent or recreate ideas. How can people stay true to an authentic content and yet, engage?
Well, that's a big question, but you're bang on with how it all kind of works. So first and foremost, if you pick a channel that you're not passionate about, even I've had hosts come on and host this show, and people could tell they were reading a teleprompter. They could tell it wasn't something they think about at night. The reason this blew up so much is like people are like, this guy knows, like this guy really cares, right? So if it's cars, if it's gardening, cooking, there's a million niches, sports, athletics, whatever. You probably know, I'm the biggest comic book nerd in my class. Like that's where you should start your focus. Like, is it your number one? Would someone that knew you 10 years ago say this is what you were about back then? That's kind of what you should build your brand, your business, and your personality around. And then the next question was authenticity. And
yes.
it's
engagement.
Engagement, yeah. So like you unfortunately, you do kind of get boxed in. If you're a platform, they're gonna say, oh, he liked this video about a rapper. Well, then they're gonna suggest you another video on that rapper or another rap video, right? So the algorithms kind of keep giving people what they want. So it kind of keeps you have to make repetitive content. But like, if you think back, right, like a talk show didn't go from being a talk show to a sitcom. Content has a format, and you just got to kind of find your lane and then just improve 1% every day.
Now, I mean, as an educator, you teach here at Conestoga. How often do you teach?
It depends. It depends on.
I know you said Mondays and Thursdays.
Monday and Tuesday was my last semester. I think I've had 3 classes. I've had 1 class. It depends on the enrollment and what kids are coming forward that want to sign up. I just had a huge, I think like 40 students in 2 classes, and I'm a part-time instructor. So two's a great part-time job, allows me to continue running my business.
Exactly.
But then I have something that's stable and reliable, and there's great other brilliant professors I get to kind of collaborate and engage with. I also meet a new flock of potential hires, like kids that are better than me at editing or better at me at AI or whatever the new thing is. So I'm really happy doing both. Yeah.
Okay.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
So we used to say that content creation is a side hustle. Do you think that terminology is still relevant today, now that we have seen that the likes of yourself and what's his name now, the biggest YouTuber?
Mr. Beast?
Mr. Beast, right? Now that we see that there's so much financial equity from digital content creation. Can we say the same thing right now?
It's a side hustle until it becomes your full-time job.
Good.
So I tell my students on the first class that I think the days of hitting the lottery and becoming a millionaire overnight, which was the era I started off in, those days are gone. But we're in the era of 100 grand plus a year. Like there's no reason any students that come through my class, if they don't listen to what I'm teaching them, follow the updates and the guidelines and figure out their niche and decide to go 9 to 5 investing in themselves and their online business, there's no reason 12 months from now you're making $100,000. And from there, it's like, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to scale it up to potentially, doctor salary and beyond? Like the internet cuts out a lot of gatekeepers, and it's really just how hard do you want to work and how hard do you want to go for it?
If you'll be gracious enough to share, can you tell us what are the factors to consider if one's goal is to monetize content creation? Content.
So it's like, it's tough. It's like anything, pushing a ball up a hill. Getting started is the hardest part. So picking your platform, like TikTok, I don't know if it pays in Canada per se, but it'll give you the most exposure.
Okay.
So I tell my students, I'd like short content is the best way to start because it's easier to produce. You can put one short vertical video on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels. That's just 4 off the top of my head. Stories is another 4 if you pick each platform. So you're making one piece of content each day. Now, TikTok might make you famous, but YouTube will get you paid. It'll get your page monetized. Once you have, let's say, $100 a week or $500 a week, well, then you can start making longer videos, and YouTube will pay you more. Shorts get paid a certain amount. A video over 8 minutes gets paid a whole lot more. So that's how I would scale for anyone getting into the game now. And I would say even Mr. Beast would tell you the same strategy.
Okay. So we have to be able to go multidimensional across the platforms.
Yeah. And it's funny because whatever's your primary, and it's usually your source, whatever your primary source of income is, or if you just want to be famous on TikTok, it could be that. That's going to get your most love and attention. Like the way you structure it, how you hook people in, if you put a thumbnail on it or you don't, yada, yada, yada. You really give all the love and attention to the one, and then you have a few other platforms, because once you've made a video and you upload it, how hard it is to copy all the text and the hashtags and throw it on a second platform, a third platform. And then, you've got a few rods in the fire when inevitably something blows up.
True.
And like I've had obviously a billion people watch this, so I mastered that. But then I've just made videos with my wife, and miraculously, I think I caught a mouse trap, 15 million views.
Wow.
So I'm just every day is another shot up to bat. Yeah. So you just got to, just once you get into it, realize, geez, I'm going to be in it 10 plus years, 2013, 12, I've been 12 years now, so once you get going, it never stops.
Well, I believe that's the power of consistency, right? Whatever you do repeatedly, you get better at it, and of course, there's value for it as well. So now I'm going to be picking your brain.
Sure.
Rapid fire question time.
Uh-oh.
Ready to play?
Okay.
I will share you a word, and then you tell me whatever comes to your mind on that word.
Okay.
So, of course, the first one is content.
Creation.
No, not that way. That's too cheap. That's too easy.
Yeah. Content machine. Content factory. Content never sleeps. There you go.
That. Okay, inspiration.
Jim Carrey. He was my, that was the reason I got into show business. He was like a surrogate father that, my dad was an electrician. And there's men out there that can ham it up and make a living. So he's my inspiration.
And you did a biopic on him. So definitely that blew you up.
That was my first before. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. And challenges.
Weight loss. I'm currently, it's sometimes I get to host behind a desk. The winters in Canada are long, and my metabolism checked out around 2022. So I'm struggling with that personally. I need to lose some weight, but that's another thing I just gotta make time for.
Modeling.
Weight loss.
You're done with it?
No, modeling was a different chapter of my life. Exercise was my 9 to 5. Fitness, running 10 kilometers a day. Modeling is pretty abstract, right?
Because you still got the height and the build. So
it was Zoolander, right? You're just wearing clothes and making silly faces. It definitely wasn't for me. I'd rather I love editing. I love storytelling. Modeling was just something I did because I had great hair as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fat ones.
New show, Hot Ones, inspired. I decided, you know, I get a little bored doing the same thing. So like Hot Ones is the biggest show in Hollywood. It's bigger than I believe Jimmy Kimmel and right. So I'm like, I have the potential to do this, but obviously I got to come up with my own spin. So I looked at the title, Hot Ones, and then like I just shared with you, you know, I'm a little insecure about my current weight. So I'm like, fat one, like that's funny.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who's also got a bit of a weight thing. So we laughed about it. And I'm like, if we're laughing, maybe other people will laugh.
Sure.
And instead of hot food, why don't we just eat all the food we can find, right? So we have an Italian guy, we get Italian food. We have, like we're gonna do an episode, it's like every box of cereal. Whatever, it's a shtick. So I've done 3 episodes of it. It hasn't found the algorithm yet. People don't know what it is. But I've really proven to myself that, you know, I can come up with something new, and I know how to make a show explode. It does take time and consistency, but it's been something I've done for the last month, and it kind of reinvigorated my passion for content creation.
That's amazing. Now, before I let you go today, Michael, I'm going to ask you one final question.
Sure.
Or maybe 2.
Okay.
So, you've done this for over 12 years now. Which episode, or how do I ask the question? Which of these episodes is your most, it's hard to say, I know, but it's your most favorite, but something that lifts you with a punch and say, you know what, oh, I did that. Like,
honestly, it's funny. I look back because I think about this as well. Before this, not too long before, maybe around 2013, I made a rap video about Dumb and Dumber, one of my favorite movies, Jim Carrey. And we dressed up as the guys. And I think it's my favorite. I think still to date, it's the best video I ever made. It's called Dumb and Dumber Epic Rap Battle. And I found a guy who looked a lot like Jim Carrey, and I played the other guy, the blonde guy. And I think it's the best video I've ever made. And that's the one that still makes me chuckle. Because it's hard. These are like, you know, there's moments in each that were great. Mm-hmm. But it's hard for me to, I probably did 3,000 of them. So it's hard to remember which one was the best.
I know. I thought it's going to be tough for you to choose. Okay. And if you were to produce a new show or do anything with one of those Hollywood stars, which would be your preference? Who would you love to have on your show?
Oh, yeah. Well, the obvious answer is Jim Carrey.
Again?
I haven't interviewed. I've met him.
Okay. Well.
I haven't interviewed him. But there's so many cool new talents. You know, I think someone who built it themselves as a creator from the ground up, which is the era we're heading into, I'd have more in common than with some of those legends I grew up a fan of, right? I would have more in common with a Mr. Beast than a Jim Carrey. So there's always a new kid that figures it out and makes a life and a career. And I've met so many millionaires doing this. You know, it's so possible, and we've never lived in an era where you can really guarantee Hollywood fame and success on hard work alone. Hard work alone, consistency, passion, persistence. Just get started. It's possible.
And thank you for sharing that bit, because many young people think it's all about, like, it's a money well, so just go dig in. But no, in digging in, you have to put in the work. Yeah. You have to be consistent. It's been great speaking to Michael McCrudden. He's the McCrudden, right? He is a part-time professor here at Conestoga College. And of course, the producer, director, and anything else of Before They Were Famous Entertainment, and Famous News. You have to subscribe to that channel, to those channels, not just one, to all 3 of those channels, because you get great content from them. I have seen the new one, Famous Fat Ones, and I'm going to see it again. It was really funny watching yourself and your friend talk about the things you shared about your buddies and all that. Until next time, remember, stay creative. There is potential in the digital space for sure, but please pursue your passion while you're at it so that you enjoy what you're doing and make money from it. I'm your host, Mama Zawunker. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And subscribe here. Follow. Click the links. Follow.
TV.ca on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, okay? Thank you, guys.